You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 160. How life changes after you discover fat liberation and anti-diet. The good, the bad, and the annoying. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Hello, welcome to this episode, Fierce Fatty and friends of Fierce Fatties. How you doing? I am experiencing gender dysphoria. I don't know what that is. Uncle Bulgaria. I think it's a Womble song. Gender dysphoria. So annoying. So I'm non-binary, right? My pronouns are they, them. And I've been growing my hair out. It's probably 3 inches long, maybe longer, 4 inches maybe. I had a shaved head and I've had short hair for the last probably 4 years. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Shaved my head from having longer hair. Anyway, I've been growing my hair out and I am having feelings. Oh my goodness. But still the underneath is completely cut, like shaved. And so there's only hair on the top, but I was just like putting on clothes for this podcast. Why can't I just do it naked? God, putting on clothes for the podcast. And thank you, Dougie. Dougie's just trying to dig a hole underneath me. I don't know. I feel like I need some other non-binary trans people to talk to about this because I'm newer in this gender journey. I've only been out as non-binary for, I guess, a couple of years, a year, something like that, somewhere between a year and a couple of years. And it's just so confusing because my hair feels too feminine and then I feel too masculine, but not masculine, something else. Like it's just not, there's something just not right. And my brain is just, I'm like, okay, why don't you put on this top instead of that top and see if that fits your perception of your gender right now. And I'm like, no. We'll try this top and then put on this thing. And eventually I settled on a baseball cap and a V-neck top with hoop earrings. That kind of feels closest to how my gender feels right now, but it's not exactly right. I feel like my gender is right now is Beyonce's music video for Flawless with and she's got like a plaid shirt with a chain and like booty shorts and like boots, and it's but not necessarily that outfit because I put that outfit on, not the booty shorts but the plaid shirt and a chain, and I was like, that's not it. But it's like the essence of kind of masculine and feminine, and I don't know. If you watch that video, and it's like in black and white, and she looks like she's with a bunch of white supremacist skinhead people, but I presume that they're not. I think it's just like similar style. Is that what it is? Do I want to be a white supremacist skinhead? Is that the gender I'm looking for? No, I don't know. It's just confusing. Anyway, that video is really cool. I love it. If you just Google Flawless, and it's the one where they start with Girls Time, like an old 80s TV show, then you'll know you're on the right thing. Yeah. Maybe do I just want to be Beyonce? Is that what it is? I fucking, who knows? Okay, so, moving on, because probably not a lot of you, Vix, I don't know. I'll say maybe not a lot of you are non-binary, but maybe, a lot of people are like, yes, I feel the same, Vinny. And if that's the case, hey. So last episode, we had a goal. We had a goal for this episode for Ko-fi, Kofi, which is a version of Patreon, but better. We had a goal of getting 15 subscribers and $85 a month in subscription values to go towards the Fierce Fatty podcast, and we grew. We had 9 subscribers, and we had, was it 45? Let me scroll. 55. So last episode we had 9 subscribers and 55 subscription value. And now we have 10 and 65. Oh, okay. We want to get to 15. That's a goal. Okay. So if you like the podcast and you think it's of value, or it's worth $5 a month to you. So $1.25 an episode. If you do 4 episodes a month, if it's worth that to you, hopefully it is. You're like, no, Vinny, no, bitch. It's not worth anything to me. If it is, if you feel like it is, then you can go and become a baby fat subscriber, which is just $5 a month, and you will get the size diversity resource guide. And then I'm planning on month 2 giving people the Fierce Fatty sheet of science and links and resources and like information about the studies. So it's like this big spreadsheet with science stuff. And then I'm thinking about having like episodes where it's only the, you're getting it a week early or something like that. I'm still thinking about that, but let's see how it goes, because if people are not interested, then I won't do it, right? So if people aren't interested in subscribing, there's no point. So yeah, if you do value my content that I provide for free, we're at 160 episodes, go to Ko-fi, Kofi /Fierce Fatty, or find my shit, or go to the show notes, whatever you're listening on. I'm sure there's a link somewhere. If you want the show notes, just generally, it's always just the episode number. So we're on 160, Fierce Fatty /160. Okay, so how life changes after you discover fat liberation and anti-diet, the good, bad, and the annoying. I had done an episode like this a few years ago, and it was so interesting to go back and look at the notes about what I perceived to be the good, the bad, and the annoying. And it is my experiences are a lot more robust, and I wonder if they align with your experiences, or if you're new to fat liberation and anti-diet, what you might have to come in the future. And as you can see from the title, I said the good, the bad, and the annoying. So it's not all roses and fairy tales. I wish that we could discover fat liberation and be like, oh, turns out I'm a bad bitch. I will never be have fat phobic thoughts or experience fat phobia again in my life. Ooh, let's create like a fat liberation island where, everyone's just like fat and into fat liberation, and we just go and have fun and then just go live there forever. That'd be fun. But unfortunately, that does not yet exist. Someone create it, please. So yeah, let's talk about it. So the first thing is, due to fat liberation, and fat liberation, when I'm talking about fat liberation, is the idea that fat people are humans. I know, it's strange. Fat people are humans, and they deserve equal access, respect, dignity, and all of the things that straight size counterparts get, right? It's not about saying, I might do an episode on this, like myths around fat liberation. It's not about saying we hate fatties and we hate thin people, and you're forced to find fat people attractive, or we want everyone to be really unhealthy, or anything like that. It's just, hey, let's give fat people equal access, and so that fat folks can live our lives just like straight size people. I know, it's pretty basic, right? And then anti-diet, the idea that diets don't work. But if you want to diet, you do you. It's all about choice, if dieting works for you. But for me, dieting doesn't fit with my girls or, politics or whatever. Okay, so now that I've been in fat liberation and anti-diet for, I think, about 8 years now, I have a much deeper understanding of my worth. And because I have a deeper understanding of my worth as a human, just my, worth as a human, that I am not an absolute giant bag of shit. Whereas before, I really did believe that I was a bag of shit because I have a fat body. And so sometimes, because I'm aware of my worth, I am getting what I am worth. However, sometimes I don't, because I don't have that influence, and that feels shit. So sometimes, because I understand my worth, I get what I want, I get my worth, and sometimes I don't, and that feels shit. So it can feel really good, and it can feel not so good. And I'm just thinking about like things like, we're talking about fat stuff and bodies and things like that, but I really feel like it extends to other parts of your life. So for example, things like money, like, because I have my own business, right? And I do consulting with companies and other folks, dietitians, whatnot. And I feel like instead of being incredibly apologetic and charging the absolute bare minimum and being like, oh, thank you for working with me, and oh, actually I'll work for free, which is a lot of kind of how I felt before, I'll be like, this is what my price is. And if you're able to pay it, that has no bearing on, able and willing to pay it, that has no bearing on me in regards to my worth. Whereas like if someone came back before and was like, whoa, that's a lot, or oh, that's more than I can afford, then I'd be like, oh, what I hear is I am not worth this. Whereas now I'm like, no, I know what I'm worth, and some people might not be able to afford to work with me, and some people can, and that doesn't matter. And we're using the word worth, but it's kind of not necessarily just to do with money, and also not saying that humans need to have a worth. Because I think when I'm saying worth, what I'm saying is what I am entitled to, which is the same as what everyone else is entitled to, right? Before, I didn't think that I was entitled to what everyone else was entitled to. I thought I was entitled to less. Yeah, so not worth, it's what I am entitled to. Okay, so next, interactions with healthcare providers. So there's good and bad with this. So I know when I'm being denied evidence-based care, so I can fight back and ask for evidence-based care. But I also know when I'm being denied evidence-based care, and that feels bad. That doesn't feel fun. You know, when, my last doctor's visit, she said, oh yeah, so for this condition, lose weight. And I was like, I didn't say anything because I know she just says it offhand. She doesn't press it. But it was kind of like a little stab in the heart of, she's not on my side. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand about fat politics. And that's really sad. And also I can say, wow, she doesn't understand about fat politics. She doesn't understand about weight science. And what she's saying is an evidence-based care. So what I'm going to do is have a look at what the evidence says. Oh, turns out that you can't lose weight. La la la. Okay, I feel I'm back to my, feeling better, but then also feeling frustrated that the person who I talk to about health doesn't understand about fat liberation. But at least I know now. Whereas before, when I didn't know anything about fat liberation, I would hear, you need to lose weight, and I would be on a diet right now. I would be on a diet right now. Think about in the last 8 years of being aware of fat liberation and anti-diet, the amount of diets I would have been on in that time that I have not been on, and how beneficial that is for my health and my mental well-being. Wow. But also how frustrating it is to be prescribed diets for, anything. Next, I have increased confidence. So increased confidence around my body and general confidence. And so just an FYI, these are my experiences. Someone else who is discovering fat liberation may not have increased confidence. They might not experience any of these things that I'm experiencing. So this is just my personal experience, okay? So I now know that my body is not the problem. So before fat liberation, I was like, my body's a problem. If I just lose weight, then I will be okay. But the problem is actually the way that society views my body and other people's bodies. That is the problem. And so that new way, that shift of thinking has helped me advocate for myself and generally feel better about who I am as an individual. And I no longer casually accept shit because I feel shit. So before, it was like I was colluding with the system of oppression. I was colluding with anti-fatness, and I was on like the other side of the table with anti-fatness, and you know, another version of Vinny was on the other side, and anti-fatness was like, look at that body, what a ugly piece of shit. And I was like, yeah, tell them they are disgusting, they need to lose weight. And you know, the other version of Vinny is like, okay, I'm sorry. Whereas now I'm sat with other version of Vinny on the side of myself. Anti-fat bias is still on the other side saying, you're a piece of shit, you need to lose weight. Whereas I'm there able now to say, no, fuck off. So I was colluding with anti-fat bias previously. Now I'm fighting it. And because of that, that has increased my confidence, because I know that I am not the problem. It is all of these systems of oppression that is the problem. Which, you know, knowing that is really fucking annoying, right? Because at least when I was the problem, I could fix it. Quote unquote. I could fix it. I couldn't. But I had control. If I just did this, if I just ate less, if I just exercised more, if I just became smaller, then everything would be fixed. And that was very black and white thinking. Now there's shades of grey. Who wants shades of grey? Don't you just want a yes, no, easy peasy, left, right, good, bad? Oh, it's so annoying having to use critical thinking skills. Oh, can't I just not? But yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. So relationships, all of my relationships are with people who don't fat shame. Many of my relationships are with people who are actively fat positive and anti-diet. No one person in my life is that person that I'm like, oh God, here we go. This person's talking about blah, blah, blah. I do not have those people in my life anymore. And that is a massive level of privilege that I have because I was able to remove myself from those people. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes it's complicated. You know, say if you're dependent on someone for housing or for income or for support or whatever, and they're also a raging fat phobe, you might not be in the position to be like, get the fuck out of here, loser, because you might die, you know. That might be the result is, you know, and so that comes with a ton of privilege, me saying that, and also recognizing a lot of hard work that I've gone through to get there, because when I started out on this journey 8 years ago, absolutely no one in my life was fat positive. No one. Anti-diet? No way. Pro-diet? Yes, because I was pro-diet. And a lot of my friendships were built on talking about the opposite of what I talk about now. And I realized that was not sustainable. And so either I set boundaries and those people accepted those boundaries or they didn't, or I had difficult conversations, or they just drifted from my life. Or, here's the really awesome thing, they too then became fat positive. Obviously, I have family, and you can cut family out. And I have actually one of my sisters I had to cut out because she is deeply committed to anti-fatness and wouldn't respect my boundaries. And unfortunately, that meant that I couldn't have her in my life. And many years of stuff coming up to it. It wasn't just like I was like, I've discovered fat liberation because I read a book one time and you're dead to me, loser. It didn't happen like that. It was a long, many therapy sessions, long process. And so that is so joyful for me to know that I am not going to casually run into anti-fat bias and pro-diet stuff when I'm at lunch with a friend. That is not going to happen. In fact, the opposite. We're going to be talking about radical politics and laughing and having fun and enjoying the food versus before being like, how many calories is in this salad? Oh, But it meant that was difficult and that's hard. And I lost relationships and that sucks. And that took a lot of growth from me and doing things that I didn't want to do. Who the fuck wants to set boundaries? I know they're good, but I roll. Who wants to do that? Can't people just read our minds and just behave exactly the way that we want them to? No, they can't. Oh my God, so annoying. I need to fucking talk to them. Ugh, rude. And that's the other thing, right? Before, I would not be having conversations with people and just secretly behind their back, I'd be like, so-and-so is so this and that, and I hate them and la 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 la. But I would never give them the opportunity to be close to me because I would absolutely not say it to their face. I'm like, oh my God, I love you, you're amazing. Because I was so terrified. I was scared, right? I'm scared of rejection. I'm scared of how they would react if I said, don't say this, or can you not say that? And that's one of the things is when I'm working with one-on-one clients, one of the first things I will ask is, who are you surrounded by? And people who are struggling, I guarantee they've got at least one or two people in their life who are actively anti-fat. And it's usually their mum or their sister or mother-in-law. And that's tricky, right? Because it's family. And the people who are further along on this journey, if I ask that question, they'll be like, yeah, actually, I have got one friend who introduced me to this, and actually I do have a few fat friends who la 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 la, and I have a cousin who kind of doesn't talk that well about fatness, but I don't really see him that often. There's going to be a difference there. And I'm not saying that you have to cut out people who are committed to bigotry, but for me, that just didn't feel good. Right? And eventually, the more confidence and self-worth that I had because of fat liberation, the more I realized, actually, there's other people out there who will treat me better and have a nicer experience with, Okay, so next, my body is not a thing anymore, really. So it's not a thing as in I'm not thinking about it all the time. As I say that as I'm talking about today about my gender stuff. In regards to fatness, right? And anyway, with the gender stuff, I'm not thinking about how others perceive my body. I'm thinking about the feeling. Is this like, I don't know, aura or something of gender that I want to step into? So it's not this like I'm not right. It's this kind of puzzle piece thing. So, but anyway, with fatness, I'd be like, from the moment I woke up, the clothes that I put on, do they fit? Do I look good? What are people thinking? Do people think I look too big? If I am in a photo, what does the photo look like? Do I look too fat in the photo? Let me see the photo as soon as it's taken. Oh my God, delete that photo. I don't like it. Oh God, I look bad, so therefore I must look bad today. And now, it's not really a thing. It's just not a thing. I know that living in a bigger body, people are judging me, but I don't really give a fucking shit. I don't care. I don't think about it. I don't think about other people thinking that I'm too fat. It just doesn't even come up into my brain. That's cool, isn't it? I just realized that I don't even think about it. I don't think that anyone's thinking Vinny should be smaller, but I'm sure people are thinking that. Obviously the fat phobes, and there's also people who are like, "Oh, Vinny is great. Look at that body that Vinny's got. Vinny is amazing. What a great personality," or whatever, or nothing. Or what am I making for dinner tonight? Because really, it's not my business to know what's going on in other people's heads. And if they are judging me, then I feel compassion for them because I know why they're judging me is because they don't feel good about themselves. So it doesn't stop people judging me, but it means that I don't really give a shit. But again, I want to mention the level of privilege that I have as a white person, as a medium fat person, as someone who is not disabled, etc. my experiences might be different. Well, they would be. There's not might. Will be different if I had more marginalized identities. And it might be that I would think about it more because I would be experiencing more stigmatization. And I would be experiencing more people verbally telling me that they're judging me negatively or experiencing that through other actions. So, sprinkling there with my privilege, all that privilege over that situation, my experience will not be the same as everyone's. And on the other side, someone who has a smaller body, they won't be experiencing the same things as me. So, yeah. The way that I view my body is, I'm like, you're welcome that I'm educating you with my body by being present here today in a fat body that doesn't give any fucks. You are welcome to soak up this fucking juicy shit. That's what I think. Just, yeah. You're welcome for my presence today. Yeah. Okay. So to begin with, fat liberation was very lonely. It was lonely. There weren't a lot of fat people I knew. There weren't a lot of people who were anti-diet. And when I joyously told people in my life, did you know that there's no way to lose weight long term? And did you know? I was met with, that doesn't sound right. Well, we all know fat people are unhealthy. Hang on a minute. And so it was a very lonely experience. And with that kind of drifting away of the other friends who were anti-fat, it was, and with the world being so anti-fat, it felt like I was just on this island of, being like, oh, I think that this might work for me. This might be a good idea. And it felt like there was no one else, like maybe 3 other people in the whole world who thought that this might be something worth pursuing, fat liberation. And so it took time to find fat community. It took years, and finding fat community online, and luckily finding fat community in Vancouver, which is a very thin city. It's kind of, they say the Hollywood North is what they call Vancouver, because the film industry is here, but also culturally it's very much kind of like LA in regards to thinness is in. And so it took time. And again, just mentioning my privilege. Me living in Vancouver means that there are many people that live here. I don't know how many people live here, probably billions. And also because I am doing this as for my job, I have an online presence. Therefore, it's easier for me to meet people. And also because of my personality type, I'm outgoing and I like talking to people and I find it easy to make friends. But there are fat people who are quieter or maybe more introverted, and they found their fat community too, because not all fat people are like me, right? Obviously, some fat people will be like, I don't want to be friends with Vinny. They're too loud, or they're too this, or whatever, or they're just not my cup of tea, or And so there's lots of fat community out there, and it could be that it's just that most of it is going to be online. And that's the thing, is so many of my friends are online. I've never met them. And that's okay. Doesn't mean that their friendships are less valuable. Of course. This has never happened, but imagine if I could go shopping with a fat person. This has never happened. Ooh, we've got another plus size clothing swap coming up. That's the closest thing that we have in Vancouver. And that is so joyous. Bring in your clothes that no longer serve you, and then putting it on a table and seeing another fat person picking up your clothes saying, oh my God, this is perfect. I love this. Oh, and then you picking up something, I love this. And then another fat person said, I brought that. Oh my God, it looks so good on you. Oh, love it. Love it. But again, you might be in a small community and not have that. Maybe you can create it. Or not, whatever. Okay, so fat liberation and anti-diet ruins so many of my previous favorite media, movies, TV shows, books. It ruins it. It doesn't ruin it, but it opens my eyeballs to the problems in the text, in the messages. And even now, new stuff coming out, you're like excited for a new series, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, okay, they are invested in anti-fat bias, fuck, like, way to ruin this series. And then you have to stop watching it, or you don't, and then you have to put yourself through anti-fat bias because you've got like a guilty pleasure of watching bikini babes on the beach dating show, whatever it is. So, and it's like, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. It's the veil has been lifted, and it's like, for fuck's sake, that's what it feels like. For fuck's sake, why is it that, like, my favorite show always was Sex and the City. Me and my sister had a Sex and the City board game, and we'd be screaming out the answers to each other, but we loved Sex and the City. And I bet you loads of you too will be like, yep, I loved Sex and the City, or I still do. That show was fucked up. Very entertaining, and like shaped me into the human I am in many ways. But, rewatching it, you're like, oh my God, like, I remember this episode, and not even just the fat stuff, everything. The episode where Samantha got, quote, fat, like, she wasn't having enough sex with Smith, and so she ate a cake or something. And, and so they put on, I guess, someone put on a pair of trousers on her that were, maybe a centimeter too tight, and so made her tummy ever so slightly bulge. Not even a bulge, made her skin slightly not be taut. And when she walked in, and all the girls being like, holy shit, you're so fucking fat. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you? We need to have a conversation about how grotesque and fat you are. Obviously, they didn't say that, but it was like the camera panned down to her giant stomach, and it was just a thin stomach. And that's just one example I can remember, and there's lots of other things. But anyway, so you just like eye roll, and you might decide to watch that stuff anyway, and then you're just like, why? But also it makes you really, really appreciate when fat positive stuff does come out, and that really fills your cup. And I don't know if it would have before as much, if I would have noticed it. Would I be excited about something new that was fat positive that came out? I don't know. So all of this can be exhausting, but also rejuvenating. So you've taken off the rose-tinted glasses and now can see how anti-fat bias is everywhere. It's overwhelming, and it made me really angry a lot of the time. And that's what I see a lot, is when people are, it's kind of like, I guess it's like the stages of grief or something. I know that's bullshit. It's not a real thing, but it's like people come to fat liberation and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so good. I'm so excited. And then it's like, oh, what? What the fuck? Anti-fat bias is everywhere. What? I can't believe that happened. Oh my God, I'm so angry. Fuck you, everybody. He's like, and the beginning, you're like, I'm going to tell everyone about it, and they're going to be so excited, and they're going to join me in this fat liberation thing. And then they're not. And then everyone, fat bias is everywhere. And so then you're like, fucking, I hate everyone. And then it comes into the kind of like, yeah, I know it's everywhere. And also I can't, being angry all the time. I can be angry 97% of the time, but I need that 3% where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm accepting begrudgingly of the anti-fat bias existing in the world so that I can live, but also using that space of where you're not angry to move forward and communicate in ways which are more impactful. That's what my experience was before. That was but I'm not saying that that's everyone's, but I see that a kind of a common thing of going through those stages. But anger is a great thing, right? We need anger. If we didn't have anger, then it'd probably be apathy. So I'm not saying it's bad to be angry or anything, but that's just one of the feelings that people have around this stuff. And then coming out the other side, realizing that the changes are happening, and feeling excited about it. And that is rejuvenating when you realize, oh, this place or someone has changed and is doing better and values fatness and fat people. That is so weird. Oh my God. And I've really seen that change more often than not. Like before, I feel like 8 years ago, if you said to someone, did you know diets don't work? They'd be like, fuck off, get out of here. Whereas now, if you say diets don't work, I feel like there will be times that people say, oh yeah, I know that. You know, straight people. I mean, straight size people. And you'd be like, oh. And often what they'll say, and this grinds my gears a bit, is they'll say, yes, have you listened to Maintenance Phase podcast? And I'm like, yeah. I'm jealous of them because I talk about the same stuff and people don't say, have you listened to Fizz Fatty? I'm so sad. Anyway, so I see things changing, right? Okay, I know myself more because I'm not shrouded in this cloak of shame. That shame was oppressive, like this force over me, which was like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because I'm not shrouded in that shame as much. Shame still comes back for me for different reasons, but I'm not shrouded in that shame, and so it feels like shame is like this cloud, and then when the shame around fatness dissipated, the clouds went away and the sun was able to shine on the seeds in the soil of different identities and experiences that I have yet to discover. And so one of them being gender. And so the sun was able to shine down on that garden and all the little saplings that were previously unable to grow or were struggling to grow because of the shroud of dark clouds above stopping that sun, were not able to now grow. And, you know, those clouds will come back for, you know, other things. But there's not, imagine if all the clouds in the sky are shame about different parts of your identity. So fat was the big one for me. Like that was a big kind of all-encompassing cloud. But there might be other clouds, which is like shame about if I'm a good person. And then that might come and block the sun for a while. But then that cloud is not as big as the shame about being fat. This is a good analogy. I need to write this down. I'm going to draw a little picture to remind me. I do like an analogy. Shame clouds. Shame clouds. Flowers growing. Yeah, and so I'm able, because now that is lifted, I'm able to explore different parts of myself and understand myself better. Because I'm not viewing everything through the collusion with anti-fatness that I was before. Next, I can rest. Oh, I can rest. I don't feel I need to prove myself. I don't need to behave like a good fatty to make up for my perceived shortcomings by being excellent in other areas of my life. I feel like fat people resting is deeply liberatory, is deeply political. Fat people resting, fat people napping, fat people giving themselves things that they need to thrive, not just survive, is radical. Imagine that, a fat person napping, feeding themselves, not succumbing to the shame of anti-fatness and springing up and being like, okay, no, I'm going to eat a salad and I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to be so great at my job and I'm going to be tired and I'm going to make up for this awful thing that I am, this fat thing. And instead says, nah, fuck that. I'm going to have a fucking nap. I'm not going to kill myself to prove that I am worthy. And this is complicated. I'm this rest thing. Oh, Nelly, that's something that I'm really working with, because not only was the fat shame a big thing, but also laziness as a tool of white supremacy, which, you know, laziness is a white supremacist myth that is deeply interwoven into my history, my from my family, and being a productive member of society is to be a good member of society according to white supremacy. Whereas the reality is that you do not need to be productive to be a good member of society. And if we look under that too, then if you have other marginalized identities, unlearning that stuff is really difficult. So yeah, that's there's something I saw on TikTok or somewhere, I don't know. It was called what was it called? I've put it in my diary to remind myself to do it every week now. Bare Minimum Monday. Bare Minimum Monday. So every week I've put a little thing, Bare Minimum Monday. And so to avoid the Sunday scaries, they're like, oh my God, I'm having to go back to work. Instead, saying, okay, I'm just going to try and do absolutely as little as possible on Monday. And then I try to take Friday afternoons off. And again, this is privilege. If you're like, have whatever your job is, you can be like, yeah, right, great idea, Vinny. Like, I'm a nurse, Bare Minimum Monday. What am I just going to let people just die? Because I'm like, sorry, Bob, it's Bare Minimum Monday. I can't do the CPR on you. I'm too tired. I'm going to have a nap. So I know so many people can't do that, right? Why did Bob die? Because it was, he went into arrest when it was Bare Minimum Monday. So I'd already helped one person that day, so I was at my limit. So sorry. Yeah. But, we can extend this to our outside of work life. Another thing that I've done is I've decided that 3 social engagements a week is my limit. So I have choir, so that's 1. And at the moment we've got 2 choir practices a week because we're getting close to doing a concert. And so I'll have room in my brain for one other. And I won't be like, you're such a, party people or whatever, saying no to people. And I've been saying no to people because I have like one other spot to do something. And apart from that, I'm relaxing to the max. Okay. I have more mental energy to embark on the journey of unlearning other systems of oppression that I was committed to, like ableism, healthism, racism, colonization, etc. Because if you're spending a lot of the time thinking that fatness is a problem and your fatness is a problem and that you need to diet to restrain this unwielding body that you have, that takes up a lot of mental energy. But when we realize that it was a problem that didn't need to be fixed, there was not a problem there at all, then we can use that brain energy for like cool shit that you want to do. Something that is nice is I may have broken many generations of fat bias, and that's powerful. But I also mourn for those who came before me who were never able to be free of anti-fat bias. I no longer automatically trust experts as I did before, which is annoying, right? Because it's easier just to be like, oh, an expert said this, and so it's absolutely right. And with learning about, lobbying from weight loss companies and how much influence they have, and like where all this kind of rhetoric around, we all know fat people are unhealthy and need to lose weight and everyone can lose weight, and understanding like what's underneath that makes you think, oh, okay, well, I can't just take something on face value as much, and I have to realize that institutions are filled with bias and individuals are filled with bias, and that is going to be something to consider, and I have to screen for that when I seek out information. And that means that there's extra work that I have to do, like, what biases are in this information. Yeah, and it's easier, because then it can be just black and white thinking. Oh, the doctor said that fat people are pieces of shit. Okay, well, I'll just take that at face value. and then I'll just go on a diet versus, what is going on. And I know that doctors are probably not saying fat people are pieces of shit, but, I'm being, I'm exaggerating for effect, but that can be tiring. Coming to the realization that no matter how much I believe I am worthy and fatness is a beautiful thing, that will not change systemic anti-fat bias. My individual self-acceptance won't change the world for fat people, but it might help. It might help. It doesn't matter how much you love yourself. It doesn't matter how much you're like, I'm fucking amazing. That doesn't stop institutionalized, systemic anti-fat bias, ideological anti-fat bias. But I feel like if we do individually have that level of knowing that we deserve better, then the more people that know that, the more that we're able to rid anti-fat bias from institutions, from systems. But it's probably not something that's going to be happen in our lifetime. So it doesn't matter, if you love yourself, you're still going to go into a doctor and have the doctor say, you're fat and you need to not be fat. But the difference that I see is that in that example, you're able to say, is that absolutely true that I need to not be fat? And is it true that I should do dangerous things to make myself smaller? And saying, I don't deserve to risk my life to be smaller temporarily because I love myself and I think that I deserve better. So I think that's what the difference is with this stuff. I've been talking about a lot of kind of like, making it sound like fat liberation is just fucking depressing as shit. But it's not. It's filled with joy. It's filled with love and laughter and jokes and liberation. And I would never wish that I had not discovered fat liberation and anti-diet. Absolutely not. It has changed my life 1,000,000,000% for the better. And I shudder to think if I had never found Reagan Chastain's blog, Dances with Fat. How the fuck it happened, I can't remember. But I'm so pleased. Even though there are many times where I feel tired and annoyed and frustrated and angry, there are still many, many times where I feel I know my place in the world. And I know that I have a place and that I am a deserving human being and that my needs deserve to be considered and met when possible. So I wonder if you've got any ways that, your life has changed after you've discovered fat liberation and anti-diet. There's the whole like anti-diet thing, like in regards to the way that, you're interacting with food and you're interacting with clothes and, the diet stuff. There's lots of different nuances around that. And things like I'm not really thinking about food. Like I think about it in regards to like, I'm hungry. I want to eat. What do I want to eat? But I'm not thinking, oh, I'm so bad because I ate food, or, oh, I shouldn't eat food before this, or, oh, why am I hungry when I've only just ate? I need to wait another X amount of hours until I'm allowed to eat again. Or, it's just not a thing. The same way that my body is not a thing. Food is really not a thing. And on the flip side, like sometimes food being a thing was nice for me in regards to, because I was so, restrict, and then the joyousness of having that food after I did restrict, that joyousness for the moment felt nice, and that food tasted so good. But then came the shame of, well, you shouldn't have eaten that food. Whereas now it's like, well, I can have that food at any time. And so that kind of zing, that spiciness of impending shame, I don't feel. But I mean, like, do I want to have that spiciness of impending shame? It's kind of like, say, if you ate like a ghost pepper and your asshole was like, impending diarrhea coming. Like, do I want that? No, not when it's shame that's going to come out of the arsehole. Okay, well, that's everything I've got to say for today. If you enjoyed this episode, go to Ko-fi.com/Fierce Fatty, and let's see if we can get to 15 monthly subscribers. And so that's not a one-off donation, that's a monthly subscriber. You would make my heart patter with fatty happiness. If we could get there, that would be amazing. Thank you for being here today, even if you can't donate. I appreciate you listening in, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, Fierce Fatty. And I will see you in a while, alligator, and stay fierce, fatty. Okay, bye.